Hello, viewers. Let's welcome Mr. Dinesh Dhamija once again into In Conversation with Taha. Mr. Dinesh Dhamija has just finished his term as member European Parliament on 31st January 2020. Welcome, Mr. Dinesh. How are you?
Thank you very much, Taha. I'm absolutely fine and still surviving COVID.
Well, we are all surviving COVID, and let's hope this pandemic passes through very, very quickly. So, I would like to ask you and let our viewers know that how was your experience as a member European Parliament for the period of whatever you served there?
Well, firstly, it was quite an honor to be elected by the population of London, the electors of London. And when we went there, we didn't obviously know what to expect. In Europe, August is a holiday month, so Parliament stops in August. So we went there on the 1st of July. We had a sort of one trip before just to get ourselves acquainted. But you don't get acquainted just like that. You need to know where to go, how to go, upstairs, downstairs, and the numbers are different and all that sort of thing. So all that took time in July. And then we went on holiday for a month.
Right.
And then came back in the beginning of September. Now, as you know, that 1 week every month, we have to also go to Strasbourg. So we have parallel offices there, as well as here. And that was a concession to the French to form the European Union way back when. And I became head of the India desk for the whole Parliament, which was a good honor, a nice honor. And I also went on to 2 committees. I wanted to go onto the Budget Committee just to know exactly what the UK was paying and what we were getting. And secondly, to the Single Market Committee to make sure that we're going to be a single market, because the more, as an entrepreneur, I know that the larger the market, the more money all our businessmen and all our businesses make. And I wanted to see that how they were going about doing this.
Okay. And you called the Brexit as a national embarrassment. Can you tell us what was the reason behind it?
Well, I only look at it from a business point of view. And as an immigrant, I'm a first-generation immigrant. And Brexit was basically one of the biggest reasons why people voted for Brexit was these people were against immigration. And they basically said that these guys are sponges. These guys come here, use our national health beds, use our school places, and then go on the door, and they're just not, they're just not wanted. While I was saying that I'm a first-generation immigrant. I've created over 5,000 jobs in London in my career.
Right.
I have built companies. I have done so much as an immigrant for the country, and I don't see why we should be classified under one banner. And I know thousands of people who, at least 1,000 people who've done so much for the country and created so much more employment. The other reason is that we want to prove to the people we've left behind that we are doing well. There's a competitive spirit, and we're not here as sponges. So you can see the figures for immigration, for immigrants. There are less people who go into NHS hospitals or use the NHS. There are less people whose kids go to our schools in proportion of the immigration to the ethnic population that is there.
Right.
And we contribute a lot more to the economy per person than the ethnic population. So I can't, this was one thing that it was an embarrassment about. And as you know, the United States has been built on immigration.
Correct.
And they're one of the leading countries. The second thing is, as a businessman, the larger the market, the more money I'll make sitting in London, sitting in my business.
Yeah.
And we're divorcing ourselves from that market. Thus, tariffs could go up. We don't know if we're going to have a no-deal Brexit or not. And especially the smaller businesses. With the internet, you can trade in any country in Europe, and there are no taxes or anything else. So we're moving our it's bad for jobs. So if I had 100 people working in the UK, and I had a market of 500 million, and if 440 or 450 million go away, I have to have an office in another country. Correct. So what would I do? I will sack 70 or 80 people here and employ 70 or 80 people in Holland or Amsterdam, or in Paris or Frankfurt or Dublin. Correct. And we're losing our jobs here. So what is the point? And that's why I thought it was a national embarrassment.
I see. That's a good point, because today I believe the government has made a U-turn, and we believe we might be heading towards a hard Brexit, because they have something to do with the pick and choose of the withdrawal points from the withdrawal agreement. And I believe the European Parliament has said today that, you can't pick and choose, and we are heading towards a hard Brexit.
Well, these are all negotiating ploys. And if I was negotiating, I would not give away my cards. I'd hold them close to the chest. And we do have near our shores the best fishing.
Right.
And the French and the Dutch and the Germans want our fish.
Correct.
You see. So we have that card. Plus, there are other smaller cards that we have that we can play. So we have something to give. There's a trade balance in our favor as well, which does affect German cars and that sort of thing. Not very big, but there are a few things that we have. But I think the reason why the government made this statement was because they wanted to give more subsidies to research and development in tech industries.
Okay.
And we wanted to make the tech sector something like Silicon Valley or something like Boston, the bio sector in Boston, and really hum it up. And the Europeans are saying, you can't do that. It has to. And I think the Europeans need to change. They need to put a lot more investment into technology.
Okay.
So I think that this point about investment technology is a very good one, and we should carry on with it. But I don't know the intricacies of the negotiations.
Okay. Well, I believe the government is going to keep making changes and cherry pick what suits the UK government more, and we will have all arguments coming very, very soon about it. Saying that, you have been on the shop floor, you have met with these businesses. What have they told you? What kind of situation are they going to face if it's a hard Brexit?
If it's a hard Brexit, it depends on how Europe, the continent, reacts. If they're going to put up tariff walls, the WTO rules, we are in for a pasting.
Okay.
Because the WTO taxation is the base case.
Right.
90% of all lamb produced in Wales goes to Europe.
Right.
And there'll be a 30 or 40% increase in taxes. So what will happen to the Welsh farmers? And most of them voted for Brexit. I'm just astounded by people voting for something when it was going to affect their own livelihoods first. And no one knew that we were going to have a hard Brexit.
Now, coming to the pandemic, how do you think the Boris Johnson government has handled the pandemic till now?
There have been quite a lot of U-turns, but you got to give it to the government. No one knew what the pandemic and how it would play out. Yeah. So I don't see any reason why one should criticize them on this. Of course, there are one or two things that they did or said that shouldn't have been said, but I mean, that happens in any government, and everyone's human. Yeah. But just don't know how things are going to play out. You just don't know. And if you don't know, you can't plan.
Okay. And now, where do you think Britain is headed coupled with the problems of Brexit and COVID together? I mean, we are expecting a second wave. The furlough scheme is going to finish. So, as a businessman, where do you think you stand, or where do you think the whole industry stands?
Well, one of the things that I think will happen is that the Brexit problems are going to be shown as COVID-19 problems.
Okay.
It's nothing to do with Brexit. It's actually COVID-19.
So basically, COVID will be the scapegoat.
Correct.
Okay.
And secondly, I see, and I'm not trying to be funny here, between 17 and 20% unemployment within the next 3 years. And the reason for that is that companies have done with less people and earned a lot more from those people proportionately than they would with so many other people. And the furlough scheme is a really good thing. Keep them at home, prove your sales, and then why do we have to employ them? Now, Everyone wants to make a profit. You don't know what's going to happen. So we don't employ them back. In the service industries, we're going to be about 40% down. Now, we're talking about travel agents, airlines, hotels. The vast majority of, 80% of our businesses are service businesses in this country.
Yeah.
Obviously not the technology businesses, but the other service businesses are going to be very badly affected. But then, of course, the technology business is going to take a few. You will have some people being readjusted in their own companies.
Okay.
And there was 4.5% unemployment anyway from before.
Yeah.
So 70 to 20% which is a lot, because we have 34 million people working. So 20% is 6.8 million.
Right.
Let's say 6 million people. That's a lot of pressure on the dole.
Mm-hmm.
We know that car thefts have gone up in London 3 times already. Some people are stealing solar panels from rooftops.
Yeah.
And so I'm not trying to frighten, but I'm just telling you what I think.
Correct. And do you think this is going to also affect the foreign policy of Britain now?
I think they're making the foreign policy up on the hoof, really, because they don't know how Europe will react. And we'll know more by the 15th of October when the governments meet, all the heads of government meet for it to be ratified by the end of January. But, sometimes things are done last minute in Europe and or with Europe. So 5 to 12 on a certain day, they might all come to an agreement.
Understood. So speaking about foreign policy, there is one question which one of our viewers had sent in, and this was when you were the MEP. And you said something in the European Parliament, and I quote, you said, on a revocation of Article 370 in Kashmir, it said, the West wants to see peace in the region, but we cannot afford to appear neo-colonial, interfering in a bilateral issue between two nations, one of which is the biggest democracy in the world. This was your quote. The question which has come in is, but India and Pakistan are both party to the dispute of Kashmir, which is recognized by the United Nations, and India took a unilateral decision, even without consulting the United Nations. How come such decisions can be taken in the largest democracy of the world? The decision has been bulldozed upon the people of Kashmir. What are your comments on this?
Right. Now, first of all, I don't know the clauses of the agreement with the UN in between India and Pakistan. I don't know, and I have to get familiar with those.
Sure.
I think the laws in Kashmir were different to the laws in the rest of India.
Correct, yes.
For I thought there were 40, but there were about 100.
Yeah.
And there were some glaring laws that should be. So if Kashmir is part of India, I'm talking about not the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir or the Chinese-occupied Kashmir, just the Indian part of Kashmir. If it's part of India, then we should have the same law in each place. Now, some people have told me, and I haven't read the exact thing, that this was supposed to be temporary when it was done in 1950 or whatever it was.
1947.
Well, 47 was the independence thing, but
Yes.
I think the constitution of this of Kashmir, because of the king went to India,
Yes.
etc., and it was done later than 47.
Yeah.
And you know, it was supposed to be temporary, and 70 years is longer than temporary in my mind.
Okay.
So that's why I said it. But I think that, you know, you can. I was also told that Kashmiri women cannot marry outside the state. If they do marry a man outside the state, whether it's in another Indian state, they lose their rights to property. Now, this might be true, that might not be true. But there were a whole host of things, like in Brexit, that
Yes.
were being said.
Yes. Yes.
And, you know, that you could still do talaq, talaq, talaq in Kashmir, but you can't do it in India. You could, you know, stuff like that. So I just thought that if everyone is equal in India, I'm not talking about Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, or
Right.
Chinese.
Right. No, I think there is much more to what you've said about Kashmir, because triple talaq is a law which is pan-India, not just related to Kashmir. You're right that when women marry people from outside Kashmir, they lose the right to buy land in Kashmir, which is a part of the constitution of Kashmir. But you know, this is where foreign relations are going to play a big part for Britain, because our viewers now are sending me tweets saying that this is the part where Britain is trying to bridge a relationship with India for economic reasons and supporting this cause. So is that the reason in your mind, or do you think there's another reason to it?
See, when I mentioned the phrase neo-colonial, you're sitting in another country 4,000, 5,000 miles away.
Correct.
And you're trying to opine on what's happening out there.
Correct.
And this is the same with New York Jews who opine on what's happening in Israel.
Correct.
And the New York Jews, which are 4 or 5 million,
Yes.
I mean, one of the biggest populations in the world of Jews, are more Qatar, if you see what I mean,
Yes.
than the Jews living in Israel. And because I've seen in interviews in a panel,
Yes.
there are 2 guys from Israel, all Jews, 2 guys from New York, and but they're sitting there, they don't know what's happening,
Correct.
and they're giving their views because they're giving money.
Correct.
You know?
Their opinion.
So,
yeah.
what I'm trying to get at here is that you've got to be on the ground. I'm very happy that I live here in England. I'm not saying that India is a bad place to live. My whole family, from my wife's side, my side, everyone lives there. I'm the only black sheep who lives here. But still, you know what I'm saying is that it's easy to talk, and there are many things that go into a foreign policy or relationship between the UK and India.
Correct.
And it has to benefit the UK too.
Yes. Yes. Agreed. So on that note, what do you think is going to be the relationship between UK and USA post-Brexit?
Oh, okay. Well, as Trump has said, and most probably, I'm not sure, but most probably he will win the election, being a sitting president and all that. He has said that America first.
Yes.
That goes not just with Japan and China, it goes with the whole world, including the UK.
Yep.
And we can dress it up the way we like, but when America is dealing, it's a $20 trillion economy.
Correct, yeah.
We're a $3 trillion economy.
Yes.
So it's like a 16-year-old boy taking a lollipop from a kindergarten kid.
Correct.
You know, so they'll give us something, but they'll take 3 times more.
A lot more from us.
A lot more.
That is
and we don't think that that's a big problem. I mean, the government doesn't think so. The Tory party doesn't think so. And the people have voted to say that we agree with you.
correct.
Now,
Yes.
you know, I'm now, as a British citizen, a Brexiteer. Even though I supported Remain,
Mm-hmm.
I have to try my best to get the best Brexit for the UK. And that's very important because we live here.
True, true. So, as a liberal Democrat, what do you think are your views about everything that is happening in the country right now?
I think that the jury is out on COVID. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen what's happening in lots of countries. Some are doing better, some are doing worse.
Mm-hmm.
We've learned a lot of things. There are some drugs being manufactured, some in Oxford, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
The government is on a hiding to nothing because, as we talked earlier, we'll have 6 million unemployed.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are they going to deal with this? I mean, this is unprecedented.
It is.
You know,
mm-hmm.
and then you've got the COVID scenario: businesses not working, taxes not being paid. The government can't keep funding people on furlough. You can print money, but if you print money, you have to also allow the US and Japan and China to print exactly the same to keep the same level of exchange rates.
Correct.
If they turn around and say, listen, we don't care,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you want to print, you print, you have a devaluation.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay. But everyone, I mean, China is, of course, a more controlled place, and you can see the figures if they're right. It's very difficult for this government, any government. It's very difficult.
After whatever has happened, Brexit, COVID, do you think our country is going to unite again? Because I see this country fractured very, very badly.
I think we have to unite. We have to unite because in the end, if we agree with the majority, we have to, even if we disagree with the majority, we have to back. But what are we going to do? Keep cutting our nose to spite our face? It's over. Yeah, the Liberal Democrats don't agree with it.
One last question, because the time is going to go up.
Okay.
Do you think Boris Johnson has the leadership skills to unite this country?
He was elected with a thumping majority.
Yes.
It remains to be seen in the local elections that come along and the national elections that'll happen in 2024 or whenever, if the country is not going to, is going to re-elect him or throw him out. But I never thought that our country would go Brexit with all the things I've told you, but it has. So I'm a poor judge. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Dinesh, for your time. And I wish you all the luck for the upcoming local elections next year, and hope to see you soon.
But let me just, one more thing,
sure,
Taha, if I may. I've gone back into business.
Yes.
I wrote my memoirs during the COVID period, and I've gone back into business, and I'm into solar energy now.
Okay.
So I've got 900 acres of land, and I'm going to try and plaster it with solar panels.
Okay, that's very interesting. And where are you doing that?
I'm doing that in Romania, where I had the land from before.
Okay.
And the green energy push in Europe by the European Parliament and by COVID is I'm going to do that.
I'm going to say goodbye to our viewers.